Have you ever wondered why some people seem to step effortlessly into the life they desire, while others spend years struggling, repeating affirmations, chasing signs, and still feel stuck in the same place? It almost feels as if the universe is playing favorites, doesn't it? But what if the truth is much stranger and much simpler than you've ever been told? Imagine this. A child sits in front of an old radio, turning the dial with tiny fingers. At first, it's nothing but static, a storm of noise. But then, with the slightest adjustment, a melody emerges, clear, beautiful, already playing long before the child tuned in. The music was never missing, it was never hidden. It was simply waiting for someone to align with it. Life itself is exactly like that radio. The song of abundance, love, health, and fulfillment is already being broadcast. The real question is, why haven't you been able to hear it? We are conditioned from childhood to believe that only struggle has value, that sweat equals worth, and that what comes easily must be an illusion. This conditioning runs so deep that even when the truth is in front of us, we reject it. We complicate what was designed to be effortless. And in doing so, we blind ourselves to the quantum law that governs reality: coherence. The promise of this journey is not another ritual to memorize or another list of steps to exhaust you. It is the unveiling of a principle so simple, so direct, that your rational mind will want to dismiss it. Yet, if you allow yourself to feel it rather than fight it, it can shift the axis of your reality in an instant. Because manifestation was never about begging, forcing, or chasing, it was always about tuning. But here is the mystery. If it is truly this simple, why do so many fail? Why do countless seekers spend years lost in effort, while a few quietly step into miracles that defy explanation? The answer hides in a place you would least expect. A place that both science and spirituality have been pointing to all along. And once you glimpse it, nothing about your perception of life, of energy, of reality itself will ever feel the same. Have you ever had the unsettling feeling that life was trying to whisper something to you, but you couldn't quite make out the words? It often begins in the most ordinary moments. You glance at the clock and it's 11:11 again. The same numbers appear on receipts, license plates, phone numbers, patterns repeating so persistently that you start to wonder if chance could really be this consistent. Or perhaps it happens in your dreams. You wake night after night from the same strange vision, a door you cannot open, a place you've never been but feel you know, a face that speaks without sound yet stirs emotions you can't explain. You shake it off in the morning, telling yourself it was just a dream, but something deep inside refuses to dismiss it. Other times, it comes as a physical sensation, a sudden tightness in your chest when you're about to make a choice, as though your body is warning you of a path you shouldn't take. Or a wave of calm washing over you in the middle of chaos, as though some unseen hand placed itself on your shoulder to say, "You are safe." People call it intuition, instinct, coincidence. But deep down, you suspect there is more to it. Think of those moments when you cross paths with someone who seems familiar, even though you've never met. The conversation flows like you've known each other forever, and you leave wondering if destiny just introduced you to a missing piece of your story. Or consider the times you've lost something precious. A letter, a ring, a photograph, and days later it reappears in the very spot you searched 100 times. Did your eyes fail you? Or was reality rearranged to return it when you were finally ready to receive it? For many, these experiences are brushed aside as tricks of the mind, nothing more than imagination. But if that's true, why do so many share the same encounters? Why are entire cultures filled with stories of prophetic dreams, sacred numbers, guiding spirits, and inner voices that arrive at exactly the right moment? Across centuries and continents, humanity has recorded these patterns not as accidents, but as signs. The truth is, the universe is not silent. It is constantly speaking in a hidden language, one that doesn't use words but symbols, rhythms, and synchronicities. Numbers repeat not because they are random, but because they vibrate with meaning. Dreams echo, not because they are illusions, but because they are portals through which your consciousness touches the field of infinite possibility. Even the heaviness in your chest or the chill down your spine is not an error of biology. It is your body acting as an antenna, receiving signals from realities you are not yet trained to decode. And yet, here lies the pain. Most people live their entire lives ignoring this language. They see the signs but dismiss them. They feel the vibration but bury it under logic. They hear the whispers but turn up the noise of busyness to drown them out. This is why so many feel disconnected, anxious, or trapped in cycles that repeat. The signs are there, but without translation, they seem meaningless. Like a radio filled with static, the message is lost in the noise. But once you begin to suspect that these patterns are not random, something shifts. You recall the dream that haunted you and wonder, what was it trying to say? You notice the numbers that follow you and ask, why do they appear in moments of doubt? You feel the goosebumps rise on your skin when you speak certain truths and realize, my body knows before my mind does. These are not accidents. They are messages. And those messages form the bridge between the reality you think you know and the deeper reality that is waiting for you. So the question becomes, if life has been speaking to you all along, why have you never been taught to listen? Could it be that the very system you live in benefits from your blindness? That keeping you distracted, busy, and skeptical prevents you from accessing the power that is already within you? And if that's true, then what would happen the moment you finally learned how to interpret the hidden language of the universe? Have you ever noticed that of all the signs people report, dreams, feelings, strange encounters, the one that seems to repeat more than any other is numbers? The mysterious recurrence of 1111 on clocks, 333 on receipts, 777 on license plates. Some dismiss this as coincidence, but the ancients never treated numbers lightly. To them, numbers were not only tools for counting, they were sacred keys, blueprints woven into the structure of creation itself. Pythagoras, the father of mathematics, once said, "Numbers rule the universe." And when you begin to look at them not as accidents but as symbols, you discover the first great secret of the spiritual language. Numbers are messages from the field of the unseen. Let's start with 1111. It's the one that so many encounter first, often at turning points in their lives. Why does it matter? Because in sacred numerology, the number 1 represents beginnings, creation, the spark of something new. To see it repeated in perfect symmetry, 1 mirrored by 1 repeated again, means alignment. It is the universe holding up a mirror and saying, you are not separate. You and the field are in sync at this exact moment. That's why people feel a chill when they notice it. Deep down, the soul recognizes the call, pay attention. Something is opening. In the Bible, numbers were never casual. 40 days in the desert, 7 seals, 12 tribes, 3 days before resurrection. Each number carried a vibration. The Book of Revelation describes 144,000 sealed servants, a symbolic number pointing not to arithmetic, but to a spiritual pattern of completion and divine order. In the Jewish mystical tradition of Kabbalah, numbers and letters were intertwined, revealing hidden codes in the very fabric of Scripture. The ancients knew what we are rediscovering today. Numbers are frequencies, and frequencies are the language of creation. Why then does the quantum field use numbers as one of its first ways of speaking to you? Because numbers bypass logic. They catch you off guard. You don't plan to see 222 or 555 in the middle of the day, but when you do, something inside you pauses. For a split second, you step out of the endless chatter of the mind. In that silence, the message enters. That pause is sacred. That is the opening. Consider the story of Jacob in Genesis. One night he dreams of a ladder stretching from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending. When he wakes, he says, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it." That dream was a number in symbolic form, a ladder, a sequence, a structure of steps linking heaven and earth. Jacob realized what so many of us forget. The divine speaks in codes that are always present, but rarely seen until our eyes are open. Numbers are today's ladders. They remind you that heaven is not far away. It is structured into the very patterns of your daily life. And here is the hidden meaning most teachers won't tell you. When you see repeating numbers, it is not merely encouragement. It is an invitation. The field is asking you to step into coherence. Seeing 1111 or 444 is the signal that your energy is brushing against alignment. But unless you respond, unless you tune your thoughts, emotions, and body into harmony, the moment passes and the signal fades. That's why so many people see signs but remain stuck. The signs are real, but they are not the miracle. They are the doorway. Think of it like standing at the edge of a vast temple. The door glows with symbols, calling you inside. But until you take a step, until you cross the threshold, the temple remains only an idea. Numbers are those glowing doors. Each time they appear, the universe is whispering, "Now, walk through." This is why mystics across traditions emphasized attentiveness. Jesus often said, "He who has ears, let him hear." He wasn't speaking of physical ears, but of spiritual awareness, the ability to recognize when the unseen was breaking into the seen. The constant appearance of numbers is the modern version of that same call. It is heaven's way of tugging your sleeve, saying, "Wake up, you are closer than you think." And there is another layer to this mystery. In quantum physics, particles exist in a state of potential until observed. When your awareness locks onto a pattern, like repeated numbers, you collapse that potential into reality. In other words, the moment you notice, the moment you say, "This means something," the field responds by amplifying it. That's why, once you start acknowledging the numbers, they appear even more often. You are feeding the coherence. You are strengthening the bridge between your consciousness and the field. This is the first great secret. Numbers are not coincidences. They are coordinates. Coordinates pointing you to alignment with the timeline of your highest self. When you see them, you are being guided, not teased. The mistake is to treat them as decoration, when in truth, they are directions. And yet, here lies the paradox. If numbers are the first language of the field, then why do so many still miss the deeper message? Why do signs multiply in their lives, but transformation doesn't follow? The answer lies in a second revelation, one that goes beyond numbers and symbols into the very architecture of the human soul. Before we step into that, take a moment to recognize what is unfolding here. You are not watching this by accident. The very fact that these words reached you is itself a signal, a pattern, a synchronicity, a whisper from the field. Honor it. And if you feel this resonance, if you sense that you are part of something bigger than chance, then let your presence be known. Like this video, subscribe and step into this community, a circle of souls awakening to the hidden language of reality. Here you are not alone. Here the signs you've been doubting are honored, decoded and shared, because the next secret waiting to be revealed will not only confirm what you've suspected, it will shake the foundation of how you see yourself, your body, and the very essence of manifestation itself. It began on an ordinary Tuesday morning, the kind of day that usually drifts past without leaving a trace. The sky was pale gray, the kind of sky that makes colors look muted, as if the whole world is holding its breath. Sarah, A woman in her mid-40s was sitting in her kitchen, staring at the steam curling from her coffee cup. To anyone watching, it would have looked like a moment of stillness, but inside she was unraveling. For months, she had been fighting a sense of suffocation. Her job felt meaningless, her marriage had grown cold, and her health was beginning to show the weight of her stress. Each day, she whispered to herself, "Something has to change," but nothing ever did. She prayed half-heartedly, wrote affirmations on sticky notes, even attended a weekend seminar on manifestation. Still, she felt stuck in the same loop. That morning, as she set her cup down and glanced at the clock on the oven, her eyes froze. 11:11. Again. She laughed bitterly. Of course, that stupid number again. She'd seen it everywhere lately, on receipts, on her phone, even on a hotel room key the week before. At first, she dismissed it, but now it was so relentless it was starting to feel almost mocking. She leaned back in her chair, rubbed her temples and whispered, "What do you want from me?" She didn't expect an answer, but something happened. It wasn't a voice in the room, nothing dramatic. It was subtler than that. A pressure in her chest, a pull in her gut, as if the number itself had weight. She felt tears rising before she understood why. The moment seemed to open a door inside her that she had bolted shut for years. Later that week, Sarah was driving home from work, lost in thought, when the same sensation struck again. She stopped at a red light, and there it was, a billboard with nothing but a single word in bold letters, "Awake," and beneath it, the digits, 11 and 11. She gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her rational mind screamed coincidence, but her heart whispered, "Pay attention." That night, she dreamed of walking through a long hallway. At the end was a door glowing with light, the number 1111 etched into its surface. When she opened it, she was blinded by brightness, but she felt no fear. Instead, she felt a peace so profound, it lingered after she woke. The next morning, she didn't just see the number, she understood it. It was not a random glitch in reality, not a mocking pattern. It was a call to realignment, a reminder that she was out of step with herself, and the universe was nudging her back. For the first time in years, she didn't rush into her routine. She sat quietly, closed her eyes and whispered, "I'm listening." From that moment, subtle shifts began. She noticed the heaviness in her chest whenever she was at her job. She realized how much she was silencing her true desires to keep the peace in her marriage. She saw how she numbed herself with busyness to avoid asking the harder questions. And each time she felt the weight of truth, the numbers would appear on a receipt, on her phone, even scratched onto a bench in the park. It was as if reality itself was saying, "Yes, you're seeing it. Keep going." Within 6 months, Sarah had made choices she never imagined she could. She left the job that drained her. She began writing again, something she had abandoned since her youth. Her marriage shifted, not through arguments, but through honesty. It wasn't easy. There were nights of fear, days of doubt. But whenever she wondered if she was crazy for trusting a sign, the numbers would appear again, like breadcrumbs guiding her through the forest. The story of Sarah is not about numbers alone. It's about what happens when a human soul finally stops dismissing the whispers and starts responding. Her life didn't transform because 1111 was magical. It transformed because she allowed the sign to awaken her coherence, to line up her thoughts, emotions, and actions with the truth she had been avoiding. And maybe, as you hear her story, you feel a spark of recognition. Maybe you've seen a number repeat too many times to ignore. Maybe you've had a dream so vivid it refuses to fade. Maybe you've felt your body react before your mind could explain. These are not accidents. They are invitations. Now I want to hear from you. What signs have appeared in your life? Have you seen repeating numbers, experienced dreams that felt prophetic, or felt strange sensations that seem to carry a message? Share your story in the comments below. I read them. And in future videos I may even mention some of them, because this isn't just my voice. It's a community of souls awakening together. And as Sarah discovered, the moment you stop dismissing the signs is the moment the field begins to shift in your favor. But there is something even more mysterious, something hidden not in numbers, but in the body itself. The first great sign we explored was the language of numbers, those repeating patterns that break into your awareness and remind you that alignment is calling. But numbers are not the only way the field speaks. There is another sign, often overlooked because it does not come from outside of you, but from within, the language of the body. Your body is more than flesh and bone. It is a finely tuned antenna, constantly broadcasting and receiving frequencies. Think of the way your skin prickles when someone stares at you from across the room, or how your stomach knots just before a decision that will alter your path, or the sudden rush of peace that floods you when you enter a place of prayer or sacred silence. These are not random biological quirks. They are the second great sign, sensations as messages from the field. Throughout history, spiritual traditions taught this truth. The Desert Fathers spoke of discernment of spirits through the stirring of the heart. Indigenous shamans believed the body could feel the presence of unseen forces long before the mind recognized them. Even in scripture we find it. When Mary greeted Elizabeth, the unborn child in Elizabeth's womb leapt, a physical reaction to a spiritual presence. The body knows before the intellect can reason. Here is where most people misunderstand. They feel anxiety and assume it means something is wrong with them. They feel sudden heaviness in their chest and think only of stress. They feel inexplicable warmth and brush it aside. But what if, instead of dismissing these sensations, you began to ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? The body does not lie. When your soul brushes against truth, the body often trembles with recognition. When you drift from alignment, the body tightens, as if to call you back. Let me give you an example. A man I once met described how every time he thought about signing a certain business deal, his throat would constrict. He ignored it for months, telling himself he was just nervous. Eventually, the deal collapsed, and he discovered the partner had been hiding fraudulent activity all along. His body knew. It tried to warn him, but he had not yet learned the second language. Now, here is the key. Learning to interpret bodily signs is not complicated. It is a practice of attention. And to help you start, let me share a simple technique that anyone can apply. The technique, the pause of 3 breaths. The next time you face a decision, an encounter, or even a thought that stirs strong feelings, stop for a moment. Close your eyes if you can. Take 3 slow, intentional breaths. On the first breath, place your attention on your chest. Notice if it feels tight or expansive. On the second breath, sense your stomach. Does it feel heavy or light? On the third breath, notice your overall state. Are you calmer or more restless than before? This simple pause often reveals what logic hides. If your body expands, relaxes, or fills with warmth, it is often signaling alignment. If it contracts, grows heavy, or spikes with tension, it is warning of resistance. The field is using your body as a compass, pointing you toward coherence or away from fragmentation. Try this not just in big decisions, but in daily moments. Before you answer a message, buy something, or say yes to a commitment, pause, breathe, feel. You may be shocked at how consistently your body whispers the truth. Over time, you will begin to trust it. And as you do, you will notice synchronicities multiply, as if reality itself rewards you for listening. Science has begun to confirm what mystics always taught. The HeartMath Institute discovered that the heart generates the strongest electromagnetic field in the body, extending several feet beyond you. When you feel peace, your heart's rhythm becomes coherent, sending a stable signal not only to your brain, but outward into the field. When you feel stress, the signal becomes chaotic. Your body is not just reflecting your state, it is transmitting it. Every sensation is both a message and a broadcast. So the second great sign is this: the language of sensation is the language of alignment. Numbers may guide you from outside, but your body confirms the truth from within. Together, they form a dialogue between the seen and the unseen, showing you when you are walking in resonance with your highest timeline. And here's the beauty: this wisdom is not reserved for mystics, monks, or chosen few. It belongs to you, right now. The next time your skin tingles, your chest tightens, or a strange calm overtakes you, don't dismiss it. Ask what it means. Trust that you are not broken, you are being guided. Now, pause for a moment and reflect. What has your body been trying to tell you lately? Has there been a signal you've ignored because you thought it was just stress or chance? Write it down, feel into it, share it if you feel called. Your testimony may awaken someone else to their own hidden compass. But there is still a deeper mystery waiting, a third sign that does not come from numbers or from sensations. It moves beneath them both, operating in silence, shaping the very fabric of your reality. Almost no one speaks of it openly, because it is the most difficult to recognize and the most powerful once understood. There is a sign deeper than numbers and more intimate than the whispers of the body. It does not appear on clocks or receipts. It does not rise as a knot in the stomach or a tremor in the chest. It is subtler, yet infinitely more powerful. It is the shift in your state of being, the moment when the outer world bends to mirror an inner transformation so complete that even you hardly recognize yourself. This is the third and most profound signal. The field begins to arrange itself around your inner coherence. When you cross a threshold within, reality itself reorders to reflect it. Doors open where there were only walls. People appear who carry answers to questions you never asked aloud. The impossible becomes ordinary, as if time and space themselves conspire to align with you. Mystics across traditions knew this. Jesus spoke of it when he said, "The kingdom of God is within you, not a faraway realm, but a frequency waiting to be embodied." In quantum terms, this is the collapse of possibility into actuality. The field does not respond to your begging or your repetition. It responds to who you are being. When your entire being says yes, not just your lips, not just your thoughts, but your whole vibration, then reality has no choice but to echo back that yes. Think of it like tuning forks. One fork is struck, and the other, without being touched, begins to vibrate in resonance. The quantum field works the same way. When your vibration stabilizes into clarity, the fork of your chosen timeline begins to sing in harmony. You don't chase it. You don't force it. You simply embody it until the world cannot help but follow. This is why true transformation often feels like it happens suddenly. A woman prays for years to find love, and then one day, when she finally lives as though she is already worthy, she meets the partner who sees her as she sees herself. A man dreams of abundance, works tirelessly, and nothing changes until he begins to embody generosity instead of scarcity. Suddenly, opportunities appear, clients arrive, doors open. The shift was not in the world, the shift was in the self. And here is the revelation most people resist. The deepest sign is not outside you at all. It is the unmistakable recognition that you are the sign. You are the language through which the universe speaks. The numbers, the sensations, these are only reminders. The true miracle is when your state of being becomes so aligned that the boundary between inner and outer dissolves. Pause with me here. If these words resonate with you, if something in your spirit feels seen and stirred, I invite you to nurture this connection. This channel does not exist for profit or algorithms. It exists because I believe with my whole heart that people like you are awakening and they deserve guidance, companionship and truth. So take a moment, subscribe, click like, and step into this community. Every subscription is not just a number, it is a signal to the universe that more of us are ready to live awake, ready to reclaim the language that was hidden from us for too long. Now, back to the heart of the revelation. What does it feel like when the third sign arrives? It is not dramatic fireworks or angels descending from the clouds. It is something quieter but infinitely more powerful, a sense of inevitability. You speak a prayer and know, deep in your bones, it is already answered. You look at an obstacle and no longer feel fear, only calm certainty that it is already resolved. You walk into a room and the atmosphere shifts, because your coherence fills the space before you say a word. Ancient Christian mystics called this state union. In Eastern traditions, it is known as samadhi. In physics, it is coherence so complete that the wave and the particle, the seen and unseen, move as one. It is the state where your frequency is indistinguishable from the frequency of the divine. And here lies the most staggering truth. This is not a privilege for saints or prophets alone. It is your birthright. Every time you align thought, emotion, and body into a single truth, I am whole, I am love, I am abundant, you are stepping into that same union. You become a living prophecy, a walking revelation, a mirror of divine intention. But there is more, a mystery almost too great to speak. For if you are the sign, then what happens when thousands, millions awaken to this at once? What happens when coherence multiplies? When communities of souls vibrate together in alignment? Could it be that even history itself could bend? Could it be that prophecy is not only about events written long ago, but about the frequencies we choose to embody now? Something is approaching, hidden in plain sight, waiting for those who can recognize it. And once revealed, it will not only confirm everything you've ever suspected, it will demand a choice from every awakened soul. There comes a moment when the threads of a story weave together and you realize they were never random strands at all. They were always pointing to something larger, the numbers that caught your attention, the sensations in your body that whispered guidance, the profound shift in your state of being that changed the very texture of reality around you. None of these were coincidences. They were signals, invitations, gentle but persistent calls from the universe, urging you to wake up to who you truly are. Perhaps as you listened, you began to recall your own experiences, the strange dreams that would not let you go, the repeating numbers that seemed to follow you through the most ordinary days, the way your heart told you the truth long before your mind was ready to accept it. These were not accidents. They were breadcrumbs, leading you back to yourself, to the divine intelligence that has always lived within you. The truth is simple, yet so easily forgotten. You are not separate from the field. You are not a small fragment begging the universe to notice you. You are the universe noticing itself, a spark of the infinite dressed in human form. When you align with that reality, you do not need to struggle, prove, or chase. You simply become, and when you become, everything you thought you lacked begins to arrive as if it had been waiting for you all along. The ancients tried to capture this mystery with stories and symbols. Prophets called it the kingdom within. Mystics called it union. Scientists today call it coherence. But the name matters less than the experience itself. The deep, unshakable knowing that life is not against you, that the signs you receive are not random, and that every breath you take is an opportunity to step into alignment with your highest truth. And here is the hope I want you to carry with you. These signs are not reserved for a chosen few. They belong to you right now. The clock that flashes 11:11, the shiver that runs through you when truth is spoken, the synchronicity that makes you pause and smile. Each is a reminder that you are being guided, loved and invited to awaken. So what will you do with this knowing? Will you dismiss it, as you may have in the past, or will you choose to listen? Will you keep spinning the dial, or will you finally tune into the frequency that has been calling you since the beginning? The choice is yours, and it is sacred. Before we close, I want to speak to your heart. This channel, this space, is not driven by profit or numbers. It is driven by passion, by the belief that together we can awaken, support each other, and walk this path as a true community. If what you heard today stirred something within you, then I invite you to become part of this circle. Subscribe, click like, and most importantly, leave a comment below with your name and your city. I read them, and in the next video I may share a special greeting for you, because this is not just about watching, it is about being seen, about knowing you belong in a community of souls walking the same path of awakening. So, write your name, share your city, add your voice to this field of coherence. Together we are stronger. Together we are the sign the world has been waiting for. And remember, the journey does not end here. What we've uncovered is only the beginning. The universe has more to reveal, mysteries deeper, truths brighter, and revelations that will change not just how you see the world, but how you live within it. Because the greatest secret of all is this: the signs are not outside of you. They are you. And something even greater is waiting just beyond the horizon.